So here we are at the dry lot, and this morning I came out and fed my animals, and every single one of them came to feed except for that white goat over there. And so I'm going to take you in and I'm going to show you how we can tell that he's bloating. See how his feet are pointing? We call that pointing in horses when they have laminitis. They make a very large distance between their front feet and their back feet, and he's doing that because he wants to give himself more room because he's got so much bloat and just giving more surface area, so he stretches out because he's in pain. I can also tell he's sick because I look at his tail, and in goats, you know, their tails are always up. His tail is down. That tells me that he's not feeling well. I know that it's not urinary calculi because I saw him urinate earlier, because that would be something else. But see how he's stretching out? So what I'm going to do is I actually had given him some medicine earlier when I came out. I tubed him with about 40 cc's of mineral oil. I gave him about 10 cc's of milk of magnesia. I gave him some antitoxin for Clostridium C and D, and I also gave him some penicillin. So he's probably feeling a little bit better. But usually you know how sick they are by whether or not they're going to allow you to walk up to them. So you can see he perked his head up, and that's a good sign. My animals aren't friendly, so him letting me walk up even this close that's not a good sign. I know that this animal would never ever let me do this. Okay, so once again, I'm going to show you what I do, but I'm not at all suggesting that you do this. This is really dangerous, and you could actually put it into their lungs and not get into their rumen, and then of course they're going to be coughing, and you could kill them. If you put mineral oil into this animal's lungs, it is going to be dead very quickly. So this is something that I've had to learn to do myself because, as I said, my veterinarian usually can't get here, and a lot of veterinarians won't even touch rumen. It's in my area. So and I know this looks dirty, but it's not. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that my animal, I have his head tilted up high, because when I pass this down, I want it to go into his stomach, and I don't want it to inadvertently go into his lungs. It's going to be obvious because he's going to start fighting and choking, right? He's going to cough. So he's going to probably fight me pretty good here, and I'm just going to you have to learn how to do things yourself. And he's not small. So I'm going to pass it into his mouth. And see, I lift his head, but I know it's not in his lungs. Look, if this was it, he'd be coughing and hacking. So I know I'm doing all right. And if they're bloating really bad, there will be bubbles that will come up in here. So I'm passing it in. I'm going to grab. A lot of people will put a piece of PVC pipe because they say that they will clamp down on this too hard. I don't do that. I just put my hand in here where his teeth aren't, and I don't let him close his teeth on it. Now I'm going to pass it down, and I'm going to lose a little. And usually I'll have milk of magnesia in here, but I already gave him some. I'm going to lift it up. And this is a big buck. I mean, and I'm able to do it by myself, and he's feeling pretty good right now. So that means you can do it too. I am telling you, do not do this yourself if you don't know what you're doing and you don't have a veterinarian present, because you can kill them. You hear all that? I heard it gurgle. There you go. Now I'm going to give him some Banamine. Up. I grab the skin right here, and even though I doesn't look, you know, I'm going to lift it up. I'm going to make sure that I aspirate. And there's his Banamine. This is an anti-inflammatory, and it'll help him feel a little bit better. Now we're going to check on him in a couple of hours and see if he's acting any better than he does right now. He looks a little more perky. So let's recap on why I know this animal was bloating. When I came out to feed today, he did not follow the flock. These are herd animals, and they never want to be by themselves. So when I fed everybody and he stood in the corner with his tail down, that's a sign. With his head down, another sign. With his ears down and him looking thoroughly depressed, he was grinding his teeth, that's a sign of pain. And you cannot get it confused with grinding the teeth with rumination, right? Because they sort of, when they're ruminating, it looks like maybe they're grinding their teeth or vice versa, and you have to know the difference. An animal that's healthy will ruminate, and it looks like it's chewing its cud, right? And you could sort of misinterpret that with grinding their teeth. When you get close to them, you can hear them. They're really gnashing and gnashing and gnashing, and that means the animal's in pain. So I walked up, I could see, first of all, he didn't get up when I came to him. He didn't get up and go with the flock. He was grinding his teeth. When he stood up, he pointed his feet like he was a horse with laminitis. He started lifting his front foot and stamping the ground, and his tail never came up. It always was flat down, sort of like a sheep would have. Another way that I tell, and this isn't something that they say in the books, they say the rumen is on the left side. So when you stand behind an animal, you can tell that where the rumen is, because it's always going to be the bigger part of the stomach area, right? So you stand behind it and you can see both sides of the animal or poofy. The left side is always bigger because that's where the rumen is housed. Sometimes you'll read and they'll say if the left side looks big, it means they're bloating. Well, that's ridiculous because that's where the rumen is. Of course the left side is going to be bigger. If I look from behind and I notice that the animal looks like the right side is as big as the left side, I know my animal's bloating. And so that's another thing that I did. We're going to walk over, we're going to walk behind him, and we're going to see if we can notice that his right side is actually as big or bigger than his left side. And here you can see his right side is actually sticking out more than his left side. His left side contains all of his rumen, his 4 compartments, and the vegetation that he has eaten the day before. And so, truthfully, the left side should always be a lot larger. But see how the left side now is sort of high? And he would never stand here, and especially because he's a prey animal. My flock, they aren't super tame, and he would never let me be behind him. That goes against his nature, and it goes against his instinct. He would never want some predator, like a human or a dog, to be behind him and not move. Okay, so a couple of hours ago, I actually treated Henry for bloat. And he now is with the rest of the flock, and so I'm super encouraged. I actually thought I caught him in time, and now I'm pretty sure I did. You can see him on the far right hand of your screen. He's standing. He doesn't look super happy. His tail is still down, and he still looks a little bit depressed, but he's not hanging his head down. So I'm encouraged. The other part that was encouraging for me is I walked towards him and he walked away. I walked behind him and he actually started to trot a little bit. So what I'm going to do is in about another 5 or 6 hours, I am going to give him some more penicillin, and I'm going to probably tube him again just to be on the safe side. Let's go see. Okay, that's a great sign. He walked away from me, he actually trotted away, and I think old Henry's going to make it. No question. See, his tail is still down, but over time it'll come back up. I'll give him penicillin again tonight, give him some more antitoxin, but he's well on his way. Once again, please contact your veterinarian if you experience any difficulties with your animals or suspect bloat. These are my methods and I do them, but I'm not at all suggesting you do them. Also, I do want to thank you so much for supporting me and watching my videos. You can contact me at littlee@mac.com or find me on Facebook. Happy spinning, happy knitting.